What's going on, guys? It's Hunter here, and today we're going to go through my week 4 through 5 top 25. Don't want to waste your guys' time. Let's get right into it. Alright, so first off, we're going to start off with the honorable mentions. I got a lot more than usual. I got SMU, Boston College, San Diego State, Maryland, Auburn, Clemson, and North Carolina State. So I couldn't decide between North Carolina State and Clemson to really put them in. Obviously, Clemson got upset by North Carolina State, but North Carolina State lost to Mississippi State. Really, to be honest with you, I couldn't judge how good these teams are. Maybe NC State just be a bad Clemson team, or maybe that's a really impressive win. I don't know. These teams will have a chance to prove themselves going forward. Auburn really struggled against Georgia State, but their record's so good and the potential's there. I'm just going to keep them there for the honorable mentions, a team to look out for there. Maryland, to be honest with you, Maryland's undefeated. They haven't really played nobody, not good enough to get into the top 25, and they haven't looked good enough to be able to do it. So they're there. Same story about San Diego State. They're undefeated, good team to look out for, but they just haven't played enough people or looked impressive doing it. Boston College, the exact same story, except they played Missouri and they beat Missouri, but it was in overtime on their home field, so it didn't look very good. Still undefeated. They got a big game against Clemson. Really see whichever one steps up above the other there. SMU, another good team right there, undefeated. Just got a good win against TCU, actually. Honestly, to be honest with you, SMU is probably the best team out of all of those on the honorable mention. But yeah, so those are why I have them in the honorable mention, just sneaking out of the top 25. So starting off with number 25, I got Kentucky. They also haven't really played nobody, but they've looked really impressive doing so. They get their test this week as they host Florida, which will be a very good game to look out for this weekend. Number 24, Wake Forest. They also haven't played nobody, except when they have, they've looked really good. They have looked really good. Wake Forest has looked a really good team, and honestly might be the best team in the ACC. Who would have thought we'd be saying that in week 4? Coming out at number 23, I have UCLA. They've snuck their way back in there last week. If you saw my video, wasn't on this channel, other one, whole story about that if you follow the Instagram and stuff. That they were actually on the honorable mentions, but I've been able to sneak them back in there as that Fresno State loss doesn't look as bad looking at it now. Texas, my goodness, did their offense go off. That new quarterback, he's legit. He's legit. He's the quarterback that need to be starting there. And I'm not saying Texas would have beat Arkansas if he was starting Casey Thompson, but I've been saying that if you know me personally, you know I've been saying Casey Thompson should have been the starting quarterback in the first place, and I was right. Number 21, Baylor. Man, Baylor's undefeated. You could probably switch them and Texas out right now, but Baylor has looked really impressive. They just beat Iowa State. As you can see, Iowa State's not even in the honorable mentions. They might have been ranked 25 for me last week. I can't remember where I had them. They were at least on the honorable mentions. Baylor beat them good, and that was at Baylor, but that was a good win for Baylor. What a surprise Baylor has been. They did have no preseason expectations, and they've came out and looked really good. Number 20, Oklahoma State. This team just keeps winning. They just beat a Kansas State team barely. They just keep winning. They barely keep squeaking by there, but that Kansas State was a team I had in my top 25 last week. They beat them. They get in. They get to move up. They were in that last year. Arizona State. People have wrote this team off. They wrote them off. They lost one game to BYU, which is I have at 14, and they have just wrote them off. They've gave up on them. I'm telling you, this is still a good football team. Still a good football team. They got a good quarterback. This is still a good football team, and I still have them at 19. Number 18, Fresno State. They're only one loss coming to Oregon by a touchdown. Oregon's number 3. You could argue Fresno State needs to be higher, but as I said, this team just keeps winning, and as long as they keep winning, they'll keep moving up. Right now, I just don't want to jump the gun on them. Number 17, Michigan State, and I'm going to go 16 also Michigan. I had these guys flipped at 18 and 19. Last time I had Michigan State 18 and Michigan 19, but Michigan's looked better now with that Michigan State. It took a punt return for Michigan State to win last week. Doesn't look very good. So I'm going to butt Michigan ahead of them. And Michigan got the big game this week coming up against Wisconsin. So we'll see who gets out of that one. Number 15, Ole Miss. Now, okay, here's where people are going to disagree with me. Okay, a lot of people think Ole Miss is a top 10 team. And I agree with you. They are there. Have they played nobody? Exactly. They haven't played nobody. They haven't. And they'll get their chance to prove themselves against Alabama. If they even come within a touchdown of Alabama, then they're a top 10 team. Okay, Alabama's that good. But Ole Miss just hasn't proved it to me yet. And BYU, they've beat a top 25 team. I had number 19. And BYU has looked really good recently, guys. Do not sleep on BYU. They have looked good. Number 13, Coastal Carolina. They haven't been as dominant as I would like them to be here early, and I could definitely see them dropping in the future if they keep doing bad. But they've so far done good enough to stay at 13 for me. Number 12, Texas A&M. They just came off a loss, and I could have probably dropped them farther, but I like them there at 12. Yeah, I do like them there at 12. Their defense is just going to keep them in a lot of games, and Jimbo Fisher is a good coach for sure, and he'll be able to keep them prepared for their upcoming games. Number 11 is Ohio State. They took care of Akron, which they should have. This team, as long as they keep winning, don't write Ohio State off either, just because of their defensive problems. They had a guy leave in the middle of the game. There is a lot of problems down at Ohio State right now, but they keep winning. As long as they keep winning, that Big Ten is still theirs to lose, in my opinion. I know Iowa's really good. The Big Ten's kind of open, but I still think Ohio State is the most talented team for sure. So as long as they can figure out their defense and at least get a decent defense, they'll win that Big Ten, and they'll be in the playoffs. Number 10 is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, actually, listen, they played a really close game against Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and in the fourth quarter, Notre Dame just let open the floodgates, ended up making it look a lot worse than it really is, and honestly, that's pretty impressive to me. Notre Dame has a shot against Cincinnati to prove themselves here. As Cincinnati's actually going to Notre Dame, they're going to be the favorites. We'll talk about that more as we get to Cincinnati. Number 9, Arkansas. A lot of people have these has Arkansas higher, but you got to think, even though they beat Texas A&M, and it was impressive. Okay, and it was impressive. But Texas A&M starting quarterback is out. Okay, and you got to take that into consideration as Arkansas plays Georgia this week. So they'll get a chance to prove themselves how good they really are. But yeah, it's just, but now I will give them credit. Now this Texas win's looking a lot better now that Texas has looked better here recently. Number 8, Penn State. The only reason I don't have them up there in the top 5 is because they're best. They beat Auburn, and everyone overreacted to the Auburn win, and Auburn barely beat Georgia State. I don't think Auburn's as good as people are making them out to be honest. And I still think Penn State's a really good team, or I wouldn't have them 8. And just right now, they just haven't proved themselves to be a top 5 team to me, like some other people have them as. Number 7, Florida. They barely lost to Alabama. Alabama's won. So, where are they else going to be? They took care of Tennessee. It was a close game at halftime, but Florida went away with it, like they should have. Florida's kind of a test. They got to bring their A game against Kentucky. If they go in there sleeping against Kentucky, Kentucky's liable to beat them. So, Florida needs to go down there in Kentucky and handle business and keep winning, and they'll be all right. They can find themselves in the SEC championship, maybe. Number 6 is Oklahoma. Man, this team just keeps scratching, and they just keep winning. And the only reason they're number 6 is because the potential on that team is so high, you just can't drop them. If Oklahoma played Florida right now on a game, who would be favored? Probably be an even spread, to be honest. Florida might even be favored in that game. But it's just, Oklahoma's talent is just too good. It's just too good. Number 5 is Cincinnati. Okay, Cincinnati keeps winning. I'm high on Cincinnati. I like the Cincinnati team. They have a tough game. They have to go to Notre Dame. And win. And they're the favorites. That shows you something right there. Going to Notre Dame and being the favorites as a group of 5 team, that shows you something. Give them a chance to prove themselves. If they beat Notre Dame and they win out, they're in the playoffs. No other. As long as Notre Dame doesn't throw the rest of their season and look awful, Cincinnati's in the playoffs, for me at least. Number 4 is Iowa. Iowa probably has one of the most impressive resumes in the country right now. They've looked good doing it. They got a tough game coming up. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but I know they got a big game coming up this weekend. They need to handle business there. Number 3 is Oregon. Again, impressive win over Ohio State. Oregon just keeps winning. Now, they did have a little scare. Their game was close at halftime, I know. It's hard for me to watch the late-night Pac-12 games because they're so late, but Oregon had a close game there. Now, they did finish off winning it, so that's good for them, but it was close. So keep an eye on Oregon. Their talent's not as good as people think they are. They're just playing really good right now, and that shows a lot to the coaches. Number 2 is Georgia. We got to talk about Georgia for a second, because I've seen some people putting them number 1, and I think that's absolutely crazy. No way you put Georgia number 1. There's no way. I know Alabama's looked a little vulnerable here recently, but there's no way Georgia's number 1. Georgia's best win right now is Clemson, and look how good Clemson's doing. And they didn't even score an offensive point on Clemson. So don't overreact about this Georgia team. I think they're actually really beatable, and I cannot wait to see this Arkansas-Georgia game. I'm not making a pick there, but I just want to see Arkansas-Georgia. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I don't think Georgia's as good as people are giving them credit for. So far, they could easily prove me wrong come Saturday. And then number 1, of course, Alabama. They play Ole Miss, though. You can't sleep through that when it's at home, though. I cannot wait to see that game as well. There's a lot of good games this weekend. But that's all I got for you guys. And all I really hope you guys enjoyed. I really hope you guys enjoyed this week of college football, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.